Back here on Spotlight, and our NFL schedule breakdown continues. Now we take a look at the NFC South with the Bucs, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. When we look to Week 1, it does feature some interesting road tests here. Saints open in Detroit as 7-point dogs. Tampa heading to Cincinnati, and the Bears are favored in Carolina. Then you got Atlanta hitting the road against Pittsburgh as a short dog there. Here to break it all down, we're going to welcome in NFL analysts for CBS Sports, Ryan Wilson and Emory Hunt. Hello to the two of you. We'll start in Tampa Bay. Their win total, fellas, sitting at 8.5, but after some offseason losses, the question is whether the Bucs can match last year's success with a little less margin for error. Emory, how many wins are you giving Tampa Bay this season?
This division should be called the inconsistent NFC South because they're all talented, but they are also inconsistent. I do have the Bucs going 9-8. I feel like this is a team that has the best quarterback in the division in Baker Mayfield, and to be completely honest, the best collection of talent that we've seen do things before out there on the field. I know they lose Mike Evans, but you're bringing in Ted Hurst as a rookie who's a phenomenal player. You still have Emeka Egbuka. You have Jalen McMillan. You have Chris Godwin. You have the tight ends. You have the offensive line. Vita Vea still plays defense. And so you're bringing in Ruben Bain and also Keontae Scott. This team, if they can be consistent, can win double-digit games. But right now, their floor for me is 9-8.
Yeah, that doesn't even sound crazy to me, Emory. And the thing is, and you sort of touched on it, this division is wide open, and wide open is another way of saying anyone can do anything because average might be the best way to describe all four teams taking over the course, even the last 10 years. Every one of these teams has won the division at least once going back to 2016. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won it 4 times in a row, and so have the New Orleans Saints. But the issue for me is consistency, and we saw Baker Mayfield struggle at times last year, in part because the offensive line was banged up, in part because he was pressing down the stretch. I had them winning just 7 games, 7-10, and that sounds maybe like a slap in the face, and I understand that if you're a Buccaneers fan. But remember, Katie, last year the division winner had 8 wins, so you're not that far off depending on how the rest of this division shakes out.
It's not always the most competitive division in football, but I will say Tampa Bay was frisky and pretty fun, at least for the first half of the season last year with those single-score wins. But considering the losses that they've taken on the offense, those might be harder this year. We'll now take a look at the Saints. They may have a more favorable schedule here, but the win total is at 7.5. So the question is whether New Orleans can actually turn that opportunity into results, right, Ryan? How far can this team go in 2026?
Yeah, I'm going to steal Emory's thunder. A shout out to New Orleans before Emory does. Again, home of Emory Hunt there. I sort of like this team, and Emory and I both have been on the Spencer Rattler train for some time now. Spencer is currently the guy shoveling the coal into the fire for that train to run, and it runs because of Tyler Shuck. And I think they did the right thing by getting Tyler Shuck from helping Jordan Tyson, and this is the step you want to see in your quarterback in year 2. We saw it last year when Drake May took that big step. I'm not going to say that the Saints will go all the way and win the Super Bowl. I think they win more than they lose, and that's a victory of sorts. I think they get to 9-8, and a little sneak peek here, Katie and Emory. I think that's enough to win this division, and I like the direction they're going. I like what Kellen Moore's doing. I like the way they drafted. The defense has to play a little bit better, but I think Tyler Shuck can do the heavy lifting. Now, of course, that Travis Etienne is there as well.
Yeah, the offense looks exciting, man. I love this offense on paper. You also bring in, a Bryce Lance, tremendous wide receiver out of North Dakota State. Oscar Delp, excellent tight end out of Georgia, to go along with what you brought in Noah Fant with Jawan Johnson. So the offense looks great. What worries me about New Orleans, and it's a big reason why I have them going 7-10, can they consistently protect up front? We saw Spencer Rattler get sacked 18 times in his 8 games, and we saw Tyler Shuck get sacked 31 times in his 9 games. That's not a good statistic. And on defense, you lose Alontae Taylor. I worry about the depth defensively at corner. And can they get pressure on the quarterback outside of Chase Young, who also, you have the question, can he replicate what he had, what was his best season in rushing the passer? So I know they brought in Tyree Wilson. We'll see how that works out for them. But there are some questions to where you kind of can see the seeds of inconsistency creep into New Orleans, more so than voodoo throughout the course of the city. But I will say 7-10. For New Orleans, but the offense looks exciting. They may score a lot of points this year.
Don't worry, Wilson. Stepping on Emory's toes is one of my specialties. That's why I set it up that way. But I'm with y'all on the Saints. I'm actually kind of high on them as well. I felt like Chuck was such a pleasant surprise last year. They've got some good weapons. They drafted well. But as Emory said, you never know with the voodoo out there in New Orleans. Let's move on to Carolina now. Their win total sitting at 7.5. But with a tougher road ahead, the question here is whether the Panthers are a true step forward team, or still just a year away. Emory, what do you think of Carolina? Can they keep pounding?
They can, but can they pound consistently? You know, that's the question with this football team. There's stretches of games and within drives where you're like, man, are they understanding what's going on out there? But you do like the fact that Bryce Young has taken the right steps forward and his growth is looking tremendous. You love the fact that they went out and got a Chris Brazzell to go along with the other oak trees they have at wide receiver. So the offense will be able to score. They got some exciting pieces on defense. Lee Hunter was a phenomenal draft pick out of Texas Tech. I just want to know if they can do it week to week, game to game. We saw this team go out there and get blown up by one team, but then look like they had the Rams on the ropes in the postseason. So which Panther team will show up, which is why I have them going 8-9 for their floor.
Yeah, Katie, Emory and I both are basically sitting on the fence on this one. I am going 8-9 as well, and I think they're going to be better than last year's team, but there are going to be some key losses, as Emory sort of notes, when they don't play up to the expectations, and other times they're going to outplay those expectations. But the offense is going to be better. We heard Emory talk about Chris Brazzell, who is a deep ball threat for days. He should be what Xavier will get, hasn't quite yet been. The question will be along the offensive line. Ike Ekwonu is coming back from that knee injury. They did sign Rasheed Walker to that one-year deal and drafted Monroe Freeland. So I think the offensive line is going to be better. Jonathan Brooks is coming back from that ACL. So there are reasons for optimism there. The concern for me when I look at the schedule specifically, Katie, weeks 6 through 11, tough stretch with the Eagles, the Packers, the Broncos, and the Ravens. I have them winning just one of those games, and that ends up being the turning point between above or below 500 for me. But again, I think there's a reason you pick up Bryce Young's fifth-year option. I think he is the future of this team. They get incrementally better this year, but it doesn't show up in the record.
Yeah, the Panthers have the 10th hardest schedule in the league. But as Emory pointed out, they did give the Rams a run for their money in the playoffs. Lastly, Ryan, the Falcons. Atlanta feels like a swing team in this division. A lot of it coming down to quarterback play and whether this team can go from competitive to playoff caliber. We do have to go quickly here, but what are your thoughts on how far they can take it this year?
Here's a quick one for you. 2 words. Ooh, boy. The first 7 weeks there, I haven't won in one game, and that's that Saints game in week 4, division game. And after you start the season 1-6, it's all downhill from there. I love Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. I like the QB competition, but this is tough sledding, Emory, given the way that schedule starts out over the first 2 months.
And can Coach Stefanski stay hands off on the offense and allow Tommy Reese to call the plays and run his offense? That's the biggest question. And which quarterback do you go with? Which gives you the best run for success? That's why I have them at 7-10.
All right. Well, Emory and Ryan, 2 of the best goatee combinations that we have here on NFL on CBS. Appreciate the 2 of you. Let's take a look at the odds to win the division. You got the Bucs as the favorite at +190, followed by the Saints, a nice frisky team there, and then the Panthers and the Falcons.